Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk About Films. Today, we're diving into a film that's not just about scares, but about the deep psychological horrors we all face, Smile 2. I couldn't be more excited to discuss how this sequel explores six powerful psychological themes: the permanence of trauma, loss of control and identity, psychosis, addiction, grief, and societal judgment. Each one waves seamlessly into the horror, making Smile 2 so much more than just a monster movie. So grab your popcorn and let's break down the hidden depths of Smile 2. The permanence of trauma. Smile 2 explores the idea that trauma is not something that simply goes away with time. It lingers, shapes, and often distorts the lives of those who experience it. Riley, the protagonist, is haunted by her past experiences, represented both metaphorically and literally by the Smile entity. This mirrors how trauma can feel like an omnipresent force, always lurking in the background. The creature's persistence is a chilling embodiment of what psychological Bessel van der Kolk describes in The Body Keeps the Score. Trauma embeds itself into the very fabric of our minds and bodies, demanding resolution even when we try to suppress it. Throughout the film, Riley struggles with recurring flashbacks and intrusive memories, two hallmark symptoms of PTSD as defined by the DSM-5. These moments blur the lines between the past and present, illustrating how unprocessed trauma can trap individuals in a perpetual state of fear and hypervigilance. Her inability to distinguish reality from memory is a powerful depiction of how trauma rewires the brain, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus, which regulate emotional responses and memory processing. What makes Smile 2 particularly effective is how it forces both Riley and the audience to confront the uncomfortable truth about trauma. It doesn't just affect the person experiencing it, but also those around them. Riley's relationship with her mother, best friend, and ex-boyfriend are all strained because of her inability to escape the cycle of fear. This adds a layer of realism to her character, as trauma survivors often face isolation when their struggles become too difficult for others to understand. Loss of control and identity. Riley's journey is also a poignant exploration of losing one's identity in the face of external pressures. As a rising star, Riley finds herself constantly performing, not just on stage, but in her personal life. This aligns with the psychological concept of self-objectification, where individuals begin to see themselves as objects to be evaluated by others rather than as autonomous beings. According to psychologist Sarah J. Gervais, this can lead to a fragmented sense of self, where internal needs are overshadowed by external validation. In Riley's case, her fame acts as a both blessing and a curse. While it provides her with success and recognition, it also strips her of her agency. Her mother, acting as her manager, amplifies this dynamic by constantly pushing Riley to maintain her public image, even at the cost of her mental health. This relationship mirrors the toxic patterns often seen in parent-child dynamics, where the parent prioritizes their own ambitions over the child's well-being. Riley's struggle to reclaim her identity becomes one of the film's most compelling arcs, as she battles not only the creature, but also the societal expectations that have defined her life. The Smile entity itself can be seen as a manifestation of this loss of control. It represents the external forces that dictate Riley's actions, pushing her to the brink of insanity. The film's visual language reinforces this theme, with frequent shots of Riley's framed within mirrors or confined spaces, emphasizing her entrapment. By the end of the film, her fight to regain control becomes a metaphor for the broader human struggle to balance societal expectations with personal authenticity. Psychosis and the blurring of reality. One of the most unsettling aspects of Smile 2 is its depiction of psychosis and the fragile boundary between reality and illusion. Riley's experiences are a vivid portrayal of what psychologist Carl Jung referred as the shadow self, the darker, hidden parts of our psyche that we suppress but cannot escape. The Smile entity acts as a physical manifestation of Riley's shadow, forcing her to confront her deepest fears and insecurities. Throughout the film, Riley's perception of reality becomes increasingly distorted. She questions whether the events she witnessed are real or figments of her imagination, a common symptom of psychosis. This mirrors the psychological concept of reality testing, where individuals struggle to distinguish their thoughts and perceptions from objective reality. The film uses visual distortions, such as flipping the camera upside down or manipulating depth of field, to immerse the audience in Riley's fractured mental state. This theme is particularly impactful because it taps into a universal fear, the loss of control over one's mind. Riley's descent into psychosis serves as a reminder of how fragile our sense of reality can be, especially when faced with overwhelming stress or trauma. By the end of the film, her journey becomes less about defeating the creature and more about reclaiming her sanity, a battle that feels both personal and universal. Addiction and self-destruction. Riley's relationship with Lewis, her drug dealer, serves as a powerful metaphor for addiction and self-destructive behavior. Addiction, as Dr. Gabor Mate explains in the realm of hungry ghosts, is often rooted in unhealed trauma. Riley's reliance on drugs and her toxic relationship with Lewis highlights her attempts to numb the emotional pain she cannot face directly. The film portrays addiction not as a moral failing, but as a coping mechanism, a way for Riley to escape her overwhelming reality. This nuanced approach aligns with modern psychological perspectives, which view addiction as a response to pain rather than a lack of willpower. Riley's struggle is relatable for many viewers, as it reflects the human tendency to seek relief from suffering, even if it leads to further harm. What makes this theme particularly tragic is how it isolates Riley further. Her dependence on Lewis alienates her from her loved ones, creating a vicious cycle of loneliness and self-destruction. The Smile entity exploits this vulnerability, feeding off Riley's feelings of worthlessness and despair. By the end of the film, Riley's battle with addiction becomes a crucial part of her larger journey towards healing and self-acceptance. Grief and guilt. Grief and guilt are central to Riley's character arc, serving as both her greatest weaknesses and her ultimate source of strength. Throughout the film, she is haunted by the loss of a loved one, a pain compounded by her belief that she could have done something to prevent it. This internalized guilt is a classic example of what psychologist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross described as the bargaining stage of grief, where individuals replay events in their minds, searching for ways they could have changed the outcome. The Smile entity amplifies Riley's guilt, using it as a weapon to manipulate her. Its ability to mimic the voices and the faces of Riley's past suggests that it's not just a supernatural entity, but a representation of her unresolved emotions. This makes her battle against the creature deeply personal, as she must confront her own feelings of inadequacy and self-blame. What makes this theme so powerful is its universality. Almost everyone has experienced guilt or regret over a loss, making Riley's journey deeply relatable. Her eventual realization that she cannot change the past, but can choose how to move forward, is a poignant reminder of the importance of self-forgiveness. Societal judgment and isolation. Smile 2 delves into the impact of societal judgment on mental health. Riley's public persona isolates her, as she feels constantly scrutinized and misunderstood. This ties into psychologist Charles Cooley's concept of the looking glass self, where individuals shape their self-perception based on how they believe others see them. For Riley, this dynamic is particularly damaging. Her fame forces her to prioritize her public image over her personal well-being, leaving her feeling disconnected from her true self. The film critiques the relentless pressure placed on public figures, highlighting how societal expectations can exacerbate feelings of isolation and despair. The Smile entity represents this societal judgment, always watching and waiting to exploit Riley's vulnerabilities. Its omnipresence serves as a chilling metaphor for the invasive nature of fame in the digital age, where every action is scrutinized and every mistake magnified. By the end of the film, Riley's fight to reclaim her identity becomes not just a personal victory, but a broader statement about the importance of authenticity in the face of external pressures. And that wraps up our deep dive into Smile 2, and the 6 psychological themes that make it one of the most intriguing horror films in the recent years. From the permanence of trauma to the ways addiction, guilt, and societal judgment shape our lives, this film goes beyond the surface scares to explore the complex, often painful realities of the human mind. It's rare to see a horror movie that balances raw terror with such thought-provoking depth, and Smile 2 delivers on both fronts. So, what did you think? Did these psychological themes stand out to you, or did something entirely different catch your attention? Maybe you noticed a detail or subject I didn't mention. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so head to the comments section and let's start a conversation. If you enjoyed this breakdown, I really appreciate it if you could give this video a thumbs up. It helps more film fans to find us. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications. Here on Let's Talk About Films, we're all about exploring movies beyond the surface, and trust me, we've got so many exciting videos coming your way. This is just the fourth video on the channel, but I'm already loving the journey. The support and feedback I've received so far means so much, and it's your engagement that keeps this channel growing. Let's build a community where we can share ideas, break down stories, and appreciate the art of filmmaking together. Until next time, keep watching, keep thinking, and keep talking about films, and I'll see you soon.